Ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, I am going to be ranking Najee Harris against every other starting running back in the league. In other words, this is Najee versus the world, or whatever I've called this with similar players in previous videos. The reason I'm picking Najee Harris is because I actually, I've had my ups and downs with him. I've clowned him, I've apologized, but I just think he is one of the most disrespected and well-rounded running backs in the league. I mean, the guy can kind of do everything. With that being said, I don't think he's the best, so I want to find out just how good I think he is. Couple of plugs before we start. Don't forget to use code WyattzWorld on G Fuel or Prize Picks. G Fuel, you'll save yourself a discount on any of their products. Prize Picks, you'll match up to $100 of your first deposit. But that's all I got, and let's get into the video. Alright folks, so before I start the rankings, I always like to just kind of do a little overview of the players so we know who we're talking about going into this. Najee Harris has been in the league since 2021. Every season he has broken 1,000 rushing yards and had at least 7 or more rushing touchdowns. Now while his yards per carry fluctuates right around 4, it might not be the greatest in some people's eyes, it is most certainly not bad. Also, as you guys see above me, he can catch. Now his targets have severely depleted year by year. I'm not certain as to why. Maybe it's Jalen Warren, maybe it's just Kenny Pickett. But do not let it fool you. If you give him targets, he will catch the ball. In his rookie year, he had 94 targets and caught 74 of them. This year he had 38, caught 29 of them. The man's a package deal, and now we're gonna find out who I would take him over or under. Alright, so now we are at the tier list. I don't think this really needs any explanation, but for those who don't understand, players I think are better than Najee will go above him. Players I think are worse than Najee will go underneath him. Ready, set, go. We will start with J.K. Dobbins. Under. Now, while I do think J.K. is a productive running back, he is an absolute liability. Don't hate the guy one bit. Definitely hope he can bounce back. I think he can, but until I see that, well, I can't take him. Moving on, we got Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm gonna take him over Najee Harris. This guy's an animal, dude. If he wasn't splitting carries with David Montgomery, he might have led the league in rushing yards last year. Okay, maybe not that, but there was like 5 games he had under 10 carries. It was stupid. Moving on, we got Aaron Jones. Ooh. If I had to go just a one-year deal, picking talent right now, I still think Aaron Jones is a fucking monster. I understand, yeah, he was a little banged up last year, man, but he's always been a super underrated running back too. Dameon Pierce. No. Jonathan Taylor, I'm taking him over Najee. I've always been a JT guy, still am a JT guy. He's a machine. He ain't holding out. He's gonna play the whole season this year. Everybody's gonna be reminded as to who he is. And now we got ETN. Oh, I gotta go with Najee right now. Look, ETN's a decent running back. He can also catch, but he's really inconsistent. He had multiple games this year where he had like 20 carries for 50 yards. And then he would have other games where he would be on the verge of doing the same and he'd have one huge carry for like 75 yards. Kind of reminded me of Delvin Cook last year on the Vikings, or 2 years ago now. Now moving on, we got Pacheco. Oh my God. This might be the most 50-50 battle I've ever had on one of these. I think I would probably honestly take Pacheco. Don't let his stats fool you. He just doesn't get the attention. Like, he's really good, really productive. He had 7 touchdowns this year. Just under 1,000 yards. They're right around 5 yards a carry, I think. Like, the Chiefs just use everybody. That's his only issue. Now we got Josh Jacobs. Oh my goodness. This is really close. I guess if I have a reason to move Josh down, it would be his year last year was pretty miserable, but he is not a terrible running back. Like I said, I'd like to see him bounce back a little bit. And that'll bring us to Eckler. Ask me this last year, I would have taken him over Najee. Ask me it this year, him and Dameon Pierce are on a tier of their own. I'm just not mean enough to actually make it. All right, now moving on, we got Cam Akers, who I know is on the Vikings, and I obviously wouldn't take him over Najee, but we're gonna talk about Kyren Williams since he's not on here. I actually would take over Najee Harris, and just so people don't meme this, he gets his own tier, dude. Kyren Williams was an absolute machine. He had over 1,100 yards, 12 rushing touchdowns, 5 yards a carry. Also caught 3 touchdowns. Like, this guy is gonna be a force. Averaged like 95 yards a fucking game. Now we got A-Chain. Hear me out. He's a freak of nature, phenomenal talent, but he's only had 100 carries. Now, while he's had 800 yards and 8 touchdowns in those carries, which is outstanding. I just want to see him play like a little bit more, just like 100 more carries. You just can't jump the gun too quick. Now we got James Cook. I probably am a little biased, but I would. I think that he is extremely shifty and fantastic on his feet, and he had shown this year that in the passing game, yeah, he can make a blooper, but he can also be Josh Allen's most deadly little weapon. Especially without Diggs on the team this year, I think he is just gonna continue to explode. I love James Cook. Alexander Madison. It's time. He joins the club, far below Najee. Next, we got Ramondre Stevenson. No, I think he's very good. I think last year was just an odd year for the whole team in general, but I can't take him over Najee Harris. Guy put up 1,000 yards and caught 70 passes his rookie year, though. Like, don't underrate him. Now we got Kamara. Shockingly, I would take him under Najee Harris at this point. He's okay, but I don't think he offers anything more than Najee does. I guess receptions, but like we've seen, if Najee gets the targets, he gets the catches. No disrespect on Kamara. I wouldn't take him over him. Next, we got Breece Hall. Yeah, he's a tank. He's a package deal too, man. You put him on a competent offense like he's about to be, he's gonna explode. DeAndre Swift. No, not quite. I think he's underrated. I think he's good, but he's only had really, one huge rushing year, and it was behind like the best O-line in the league. Next up, we got Honey Bajan. He's going over Najee. He's the next coming of LaDainian Tomlinson. Christian McCaffrey, obviously over, probably the best in the game currently. Kenneth Walker, my boy. I gotta be fair, man. If I'm putting ETN down here, I'm gonna put Kenneth Walker down here too. He's good, but he had some lousy ass games this year. Games that were either saved by a couple of touchdowns in the red zone or a breakout carry in a game. Zach Charbonnet, no. Rashad White, no. Miles Sanders, far below. He is actually the reason I'm not putting D Swift above. He is the absolute living proof that the Eagles O-line can make anyone look fantastic. I mean, the Panthers signed him to, I think, like a decent deal as a running back, and he ended up getting out-snapped by Chuba Hubbard. If your team is using Chuba Hubbard over you, that's telling you a lot. Now we are on to Derrick Henry. Look, he is my Julio Jones of running backs. Until I see the wheels fall off, he's in the top 5 conversation, always. Now the wheels could fall off at any moment, but right now they're still on. Brian Robinson, under, but like I said, he's not nearly as bad as I was making him out to be. Actually, quite a decent running back. Antonio Gibson, no. Next we got Zeke, far below. Guy hasn't been legitimately good in like 3 years. Delvin Cook, more like Delvin Cooked, far below. Leonard Fournette, far below. Remember when he came to the Bills last year and then tweeted that they really let him and Diggs on the same team and that his time was coming and then he got cut? Oh, Lenny, never forget. Khalil Herbert, no, but underrated running back in the league. I think he's actually pretty decent. Dante Foreman, no, but he can throw up a really good game or he'll throw up the worst game you've ever seen, and I think that's one of the most entertaining aspects about him. Like, no bullshitting you. If he starts, you are either going to get 23 carries for 38 yards or 23 carries for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. All right, final stretch. We got Joe Mixon. No, this one's close-ish, but he's not that good of a running back. That one year he had 13 touchdowns, and I really went crazy, but if you really look at his career, he's been consistent, but just nothing outstanding. Not saying Najee's way better than him. Like I said, it's just I wouldn't take him over. Now we got Nick Chubb. Yeah, I get emotional talking or even thinking about him. That's the reason I said CMC's arguably the best in the league, because Nick Chubb's leg is the only thing that's the argument there. Nick Chubb is the greatest running back of all time. Nick Chubb is going to be the best man in my wedding, whether he chooses to accept the invitation or not. There will be a cardboard cutout of Nick Chubb standing next to me on the altar. I'm not engaged, by the way. I'm just pre-planning. Now we got Tony P. No, I probably would have last year, honestly, but this year I think we got to see the #1 Tony P, and he's pretty limited. When a team's expecting him, I think they kind of know how to contain him. Javonte Williams, no, I really had big hopes for this guy as a rookie, and then his injury, I think, honestly kind of ruined him. James Conner, no, but close. James Conner is incredibly underrated and a very productive and well-rounded running back at that. And ending, we've got Szechuan. I would take him over Najee. I was dumb enough to criticize Saquon once. I'm not dumb enough to do it again. Saquon Barkley is a fantastic running back, and he is arguably a generational talent. Anyway, that will do it for the ranking, and if my calculation serves correctly, Najee Harris is the 13th running back in the league. I mean, obviously, I think that's good. Some of you guys might hate it, some of you guys might love it, but tell me your honest thoughts on it. Anyway, guys, that is going to be all for today's video. If you did enjoy this video, you already know what to do to show support, and I appreciate any and all help. However, with everything I said, I'm going to get this edited so you guys can watch it, and also I plan to have an extra out today too, so keep an eye on that. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a fantastic Wednesday, have a great rest of your week, and as always, I will see you in the next upload.